and I don't think it's gonna sell well. 6 times the performance of the Steam Deck. They could get more for their money out of $700. LED strip on the front. It has a swappable magnetic faceplate. The RAM was upgradable too. People are also still waiting on Half-Life 3 from Valve, so beautiful. Beautiful to me. Wednesday, November 12th, Valve announced the Steam Machine, Steam Frame, and Steam Controller. Now, the Steam Machine is a new mini PC that's boasting roughly 6 times the performance of the Steam Deck, according to Valve. Its performance will play games at 4K, 60 frames per second with AMD's FSR features enabled. It has a semi-custom 6-core AMD Zen 4 CPU, a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 GPU, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, and 8 gigabytes of GDDR6 VRAM. Now, it has 2 different internal storage configurations. It's going to have a 512 gigabyte version or a 2 terabyte version, both NVMe SSDs, and you can upgrade those with a 2280. So you could get, theoretically up to 8 terabytes of internal storage on this device once it launches, and then once you buy it, upgrade it yourself. Now it has some, aesthetic quirks to it. It has a LED strip on the front, which is customizable. You can use it to show different, progress reports, whether you're downloading stuff, whether you're upgrading stuff. It has a swappable magnetic faceplate. And, when Valve was showing off the console to people, they had an e-ink version that gave system updates in terms of how intense the GPU, CPU was running, but that apparently won't be sold. However, they are releasing CAD files for the faceplate when it comes out. So you could design something yourself, or you could get something that's designed by the community. Now, the big news about this Steam Machine is that it runs SteamOS. It is a gaming PC, essentially, but it's not launching with Windows. It's launching with SteamOS and Linux out of the box. And it comes with a new Steam controller, your favorite controller apparently, which we'll talk about in a bit. But we talked about this before. We've talked about this a few times. We always talk about how much we love the Steam Deck, how impressed we are with the Steam Deck, how cool it would be if Valve launched a console. We even, did a podcast back in about a year ago. I think it was 9 or 10 months when rumors were really starting to build around this. And I think in the Steam Deck software or in SteamOS updates, it kind of hinted that, okay, they are inputting HDMI CEC support, meaning, when you turn on your console, it will connect to your home theater via HDMI and turn on the rest of your home theater, whether it be a TV or a sound bar. So that code was put into SteamOS, and people were like, oh, it's for a console. They're going to come out with a console. And, we were both excited about it. We've mentioned how Steam Deck being a handheld console, there are limitations around it, right? So you can play games, but once you get to AAA games, once you get to high graphic settings, there's only so much you can do. And the idea that a console running SteamOS would be more powerful, but 6 times more powerful, I'm excited by it. I know that when we spoke about it in the past, you were more excited about a possible update to Steam Deck, maybe a Steam Deck 2, but I think you were more specifically interested in if there was a Steam Deck Mini to come out. Now, we're fresh on the heels of the announcement, all the articles, all the YouTube videos about it. Are you more interested in this Steam console, this official Steam machine that's been announced by Valve and what they've shown off of it?
I think surprisingly, this is the product that I have the least excitement for out of the 3, which really surprised me. And I think it comes down to specs and what the price could be. The problem is, if this isn't priced, in my opinion, it should be between $400 and $500. If it's not priced in that wheelhouse, if it's priced PlayStation-esque, so $600, $550 to $600, to me, this is not worth it. I'm curious to get your opinion. You are a PlayStation 5 owner, you're a PlayStation 5 user. Does this appeal to you at all in any way in terms of a Steam desktop that is 6 times, they're quoting 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck? And what would you expect to pay for something like that? Or what would you be comfortable paying for something like that?
This does interest me. I don't think I'm going to buy it, at launch. But in terms of my next console, this definitely interests me. I haven't been a huge PC gamer. The Steam Deck got me more into, PC type gaming, and, it was successful in getting me more into the Steam ecosystem. But when I think of, okay, eventually Sony's coming out with a PS6, Xbox is supposed to be coming out with a new home console, this Steam machine is coming out. When I think between the three of those, which one interests me the most, it's definitely this Steam machine. What would I be willing to pay for it? I think console prices. I think like I would be comfortable with it around $500 to $600. And it's in a weird spot, right? Because they're obviously attacking the home console space. All of the stuff, all the promotional videos that they've shown, or most of the promotional videos that they've shown, it's at a TV in front of a couch. People are using their controllers. There's a few of the promotions, there's someone sitting at a desk using it, but they're using it for something like Stardew Valley or something like that. So they are targeting the console space. But then also when they've talked with reviewers, they've made a point to say, this isn't a console, this is a PC. So like on one hand, they're trying to push it as a console. And then on another hand, they're saying, don't expect to pay console prices, expect to pay PC prices. And, that makes it seem like it's going to be more than $500, $600, right? I think if they price it similar to other consoles, I think it can do well. But if it's more than a PlayStation 5, I think a PlayStation 5 Pro right now costs $700. If it's around that price, and to your point, it's not as powerful as a PlayStation 5. It's definitely not going to be as powerful as a PlayStation 5 Pro. So for it to be more expensive than those and not as powerful, yes, it's a PC, so you can do more. If you wanted, for whatever reason, you could install Windows on this. You can install, like it comes with Linux on it. It comes with SteamOS on it already. Like you can do more with this device than you can do with an actual console. People aren't going to see it that way. And I don't think it's going to sell well. Because to your point, right, you have a PC already that you upgrade as you see fit. For someone to be interested in this as a PC, they could get more for their money out of $700 than this pre-built device than the Steam machine. So I think as they've been doing, they need to lean into this being a console, meaning console prices. They haven't confirmed what the price is. They haven't told anyone what the price is. I'm hoping that they're just like, oh, this is going to be like a PC. I hope that they are just trying to get people to expect it to be expensive. And then when they come out with the price, it's like as competitive as the Steam Deck was when it first came out. And it's going to be like $400 and $450. And then everyone will be like, oh, we thought it was going to be like $700, $800, $1,000. And then it's only $400. This is the best console ever. I hope that's what they're doing. We'll have to wait to see what the eventual price is. But all we know right now is that it's supposed to launch Q1 2026. Now, people are also still waiting on Half-Life 3 from Valve. So, will it launch Q1 2026? We don't know. But it's supposed to launch early next year. No word on the price yet. I guess a couple of other things that didn't mention before. It has a lot of I/O ports. It has a display port, HDMI port, 4 USB-A ports, 1 USB-C port, gigabit Ethernet, and a micro SD card on the slot. And they specifically said the micro SD card on the slot so that you could, if you have a lot of games installed for your Steam Deck, you can take your micro SD card slot from your Steam Deck, put them straight into your Steam machine, and it's going to work no problem. We'll talk about the Steam frame too, but you can take it from your Steam Deck or Steam machine, put it right into your Steam frame, and you can run games off of it no problem, which is, the play of getting people invested in the Steam ecosystem, it makes so much sense. And especially for someone who's getting more invested into it now, the idea that I can buy a game once, or I can install it on this micro SD and take it from one console to my handheld to maybe a VR system, and I don't have to keep on buying different versions of the game, is like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to me. The display port is 1.4, display 1.4, and HDMI is listed as HDMI 2.0. Now, they've specifically said the hardware is capable of 2.1. It supports VRR and HDR. It also supports 4K 120 output, but it doesn't support some modes that require DSC like 4K 165. So it technically can't be labeled as HDMI 2.1, but all of the main things that you would want out of 2.1 are there. I can't remember where I saw it, but in one video, someone mentioned that the RAM was upgradable too. I'm not sure if you saw that or maybe I misheard that, but the CPU and GPU aren't upgradable like a typical desktop would be. So, as I mentioned, it's weird that they're selling it as a console, but they're also like, oh, but it's a desktop, so that's why it's going to probably cost more. But then if it was a true desktop, you could upgrade the GPU and CPU yourself. I don't know. I found ironic in a way is Steam has been software and now they're getting into the console side of things, right? They're getting into they came out with the Steam Deck. They're getting into the home console with the Steam machine, and Microsoft was hardware and now they're getting into the software side of things, right? They're really pushing Xbox Game Pass, and rumors are they're stopping producing hardware. So it's kind of funny that I find, Valve is slowly turning into Xbox with hardware, and Xbox is slowly turning into Steam and getting out of hardware and focusing on software. So I guess, yeah, price wise, long way of getting around to it. I would pay $600 for this. And the thing too, there's going to be a 512 gigabyte version and a 2 terabyte version. I'm sure the 2 terabyte version will be very expensive. I think they're coming out with a 512 version to try and keep it as affordable as possible. I see myself at some point being interested in this. Definitely not Q1 2026, but at some point I see myself interested. And to your point about it being bottlenecked GPU wise, I've heard that as a common concern that people have. I think it would be cool, and I think it could do well if the same way how Xbox had their Series S and the Series X, and probably not at launch because we probably would have heard about it by now, but at some point, maybe a year, 2 years in, they come out with, a more powerful version where the VRAM is 16 gigabytes, 24 gigabytes instead of, the base 18 the base 8 that it's supposed to be launching with. I'm interested in this, and especially when I look at it compared to the other consoles that will be coming out, like the PS6, like an eventual new Xbox console. I know you're definitely more of a PC gamer than a console gamer. Maybe this is a good segue into our next topic. You mentioned the Steam controller is a perfect controller to you. If you're not going to get the Steam machine, do you see yourself getting the Steam controller? If you like this video, then you might like my video explaining the Huawei AirGrab, or you might like my review of the Steam Deck. A subscribe would also be great.